If you've been married for any length of time, you know that not every season is easy, and some seasons are significantly harder than others. So, whether you are in a particularly difficult season or you are in a season of your marriage where you are questioning the sustainability of it for long term, you are considering divorce, you are unhappy, you feel stuck, I have been there in my marriage. I've been married for 14 years, and the first 6 were incredibly difficult, and they brought us to that breaking point. And then it took 3 years of intense counseling and healing and addressing negative and toxic behaviors, stripping those down, and building up new and healthy habits before getting to a place where marriage was healthy and it was life-giving and it was wonderful. But let me talk a little bit about that healing process in your marriage. If you're at that point where you're ready to do something different, where you need to diagnose the root issues in your marriage, there's a process that you go through because one, your marriage consists of 2 people, so 2 individuals, and you both bring your own baggage and your own behaviors and your own imperfections to the marriage. So it's easy to want to blame our spouse for all of the issues, but this is about taking responsibility and knowing that you contribute to this marriage as well. But either way, when we're in a healing period, it first looks like addressing ourselves on an individual level. So for me and my husband, it looked like me looking at me, looking inside. What's going on inside me? What is causing me stress? What is causing me anger? What is contributing to how I am treating my husband, to how I am showing up for him? So I realized that, wow, I have a lot of work to do in me. There are some things that happened before I got married. There are some things that happened growing up and in my childhood that I have brought into this marriage that I need to address. I need to break down those walls, and I need to start really getting to the root cause of those issues before I can start to build up new habits and new mindsets. And my husband, he had to do the same thing as well. So before we change a marriage, we have to first change ourselves. So we look at it on an individual level, and we are breaking down the bad habits and the bad mindsets and the toxic behaviors. We're stripping that off. And then we are building up new habits and new mindsets and new behaviors. And this takes time. This is not done in a week. This is not done in a month. Sometimes this isn't even done in a year. It is a journey. It is progress being made. And it is about patience and not giving up hope, and knowing that while you may not be where you want to be, you're not in the same place that you were 6 months ago. And you won't be in the same place in 6 more months from now. So you look at this individual healing process that is going on between yourself and hopefully your spouse as well. And then you get to the point where you start to heal and repair the marriage then. And that is, you have done work internally, they have done work internally, which is changing how you think, it is changing how you speak, it is changing how you act, which means you approach an issue or a situation or a conversation differently. And because you approach it differently, they are then reacting differently. And it is changing the dynamic of your relationship and of your marriage. And at first, it's going to be weird and it's going to feel very like, whoa, like, I don't know what to do here. Who are you? Like, how do we navigate this forward? But as long as you're openly talking through it and you're understanding that this is new and we're willing to work through the discomfort, because that's where growth comes from. The growth comes from being uncomfortable by trying something new, something different. That's how you get unstuck. And then you start to establish new habits, new mindsets, and new ways of thinking. And so this process for us took a solid 3 years, a solid 3 years. And I would say that even bled into probably closer to 5 years, between 3 years taking time to break down those individual layers. And then 2 more years after that for starting to build up the new layers on the marriage level. And so 5 years after we started the process, that's when I would say we probably looked at our marriage and said, wow, this is amazing. Like, I love you. I am in love with you. I feel connected to you. Like, I feel like we are on the same page and we are in sync. And I didn't know marriage could be this great. But that was after 5 years of peeling things back layer by layer by layer. And that's also understanding and accepting that a lot of times the way that we heal is in layers. And it's stripping off one layer and then getting to the next and getting to the next and getting to the next. And so a lot of times when you start this healing process, it gets uglier before it gets better. And that's the hard part, is really sticking through that, because you think your marriage is bad, right? Like, you get to a point where like it's bad, you're stuck, you're having the same fight over and over again. You don't know what to do. You're not sure you're going to make it. And then you say, let's go and get counseling, or let's go and get help. And you do that, and then it gets worse. So expect that and know that that's okay, that that's actually good, because finally, instead of being in this like vicious cycle of doing the same thing over and over again and your marriage being stuck, you are actually getting to the root of the problem, which is where real healing happens. And it is ugly, and it will not be easy, but it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. So you get here and it sucks, and then you take it down here and it sucks even more. But then you go up and you start to level up over and over and over again. And you were here, and at your best, maybe you were here. But you know what? When you work on your marriage and you work on yourself, you get to a place where, man, you far exceed even the best. You far exceed where you fell in love and you thought it was so good. Man, it gets better than that. It gets better than, that first honeymoon phase. It gets deeper and it gets more real and it gets more authentic. And there is a romance that you've never even experienced waiting for you on the other side. And God had that design and that intention for marriage from the very beginning. And that's something that we get to step into. But it's an act of faith. It's absolutely an act of faith. It's inviting God into your marriage to do what only He can do. Because you can't do this on your own, and neither can your spouse. But you're going to do it with God, who's fighting for you, who is leading the way, who's providing that truth and that example. And then you get through it and you realize that, man, marriage is amazing, and all the years and all the pain and all the fights and all the work that you had to do to change your marriage was absolutely worth it.